Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk 20's, episode 9. We're almost at the milestone of 10, which is, I think, the breaking point of whether you try to start something and then it falls apart or you actually commit to it. So I'm happy to almost break through that barrier and stay consistent. Today I have a good friend of mine that I made within the last year or so. I met him through work and all that. I have my boy Ryan. Ryan, what's going on, buddy?
Hello. How we doing?
I'm doing great, sir. What about yourself?
Never better.
Well, fantastic. Ryan, I want to have you discuss how we met and our relationship now, if you don't mind.
No, not at all. So we met at Dreyer, physical therapy. We were both techs. I came in, Tanner kind of took me under his wing, kind of taught me everything and showed me everything. And if I had a question, I knew who to ask. I would go to Tanner. So we built a pretty close relationship there. We would hang out outside, lifting together, going to eat together. We still try to keep in contact. It's tough because he lives an hour away almost, but
which doesn't seem that far, but it actually kind of is almost an hour.
It is when he has school and work and everything.
Yeah, man, you were a new tech, and we didn't really have too much guidance in terms of training the new people. So I decided to try to teach you what I could in the moment. And then, yeah, it's kind of hard not to get to know someone that you work with several days a week and then interact or work with the same clinicians at the same time. We were forced to interact because we had to work together with a lot of the duties that we had at Dreyer.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, do you want to introduce today's topic, or do you want me to do the honors?
I think you should do the honors.
Oh my God.
I love the topic, but I think you should do the honors.
Oh my God. All right. Well, if you guys know me personally and have seen me within the last few years, you know how special this term, this topic is for me. It's tatted on my left bicep, so it's kind of hard to forget about it. But the term is Sonder. The topic today is going to be about Sonder and how the perspective, once you know what Sonder is, or the realization, can help change your perspective with several things, but mostly with your relationship with yourself and your relationships with others, with everybody. So to start it off, Ryan, when were you introduced to the term Sonder?
You actually introduced the term to me.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had thoughts about Sonder, but not knowing there was a word for it. And then I saw that tattoo on your bicep, and I think we were talking about it one day, and I asked, what does Sonder even mean? And you kind of described it, and I was like, that is the most mind-blowing in-depth when you think about it. It's like, it really does blow your mind.
Yeah, well, for people who don't know what Sonder is, Sonder, it is the realization that each passerby is living a life as complex and vivid as your own, in which you might only appear once as an extra sipping coffee in the background, for example. Yeah.
You were actually a Sonder to me at one point, because I would go to the gym right by there, and you would eat lunch outside. And I would pass you like, oh, there's that guy again. Later, I would be working with you and doing all this and that. So that's funny.
That is crazy. Yeah. Well, what does Sonder mean to you then, Brian?
I mean, I think it's just crazy to think that there are other people living completely different lives that you have no idea about. You kind of get caught up in your own life. Like, you're the main character of your life. You kind of just forget that other people do have lives and they are going through things. And it kind of makes you more empathetic towards people to think like, oh, they do have their own crap going on. But it's crazy to think about.
100%. 100%. The impact Sonder has, what has it done for you since discovering it?
Like I said, just being more empathetic, to think, oh, this person is doing this. Like, maybe they were having a bad day. Maybe something just happened that I have no idea about. Like, some stranger cut me off and I got mad at them. But then I'm like, oh, wait, they have their own life. They might be in a rush to get somewhere, or they might be doing this or that.
Yeah, for me, when I got the tattoo, although I like the surface definition of the realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as your own, I also took that term and kind of has different meanings for me as well. Don't judge a book by its cover, or you never know what someone is going through, and this and that, especially just on a personal level when people first interact with me or I first introduce myself to someone. You wouldn't know the hardships I faced, or you wouldn't know about my dad's situation, or that I grew up moving 12 times before college, or all these different life experiences I had. And likewise, the opposite, when I'm introduced to someone, it's very easy to judge just by that first interaction you have with that individual. You possibly become closer to them, and then within the coming weeks, months, years that you continue to have a relationship with that person, you realize, oh my God, this person experienced this and is currently going through this. And it just kind of, like you said, it opens your eyes to be more empathetic with others. But it also, for me personally, it's helped me become more at peace with my own personal issues and realize that everyone else is maybe not experiencing the identical situation I'm going through, but I'm not alone. Everyone is
Yeah,
having their own troubles, even the people who seem picture perfect in public or on social media and stuff. Everyone has their own issues, their own obstacles.
absolutely.
So I'm with you on that. Is the realization that others are living that life that is as complex as yours an eye-opening experience, and how so?
For sure, kind of humbles you, kind of makes you feel like small, not in a bad way, but to just think that there's 8 billion, 7 billion, however many people that are doing their own things right now that you will never know, you'll never meet. They're doing their own thing, and you're doing your own thing. So why should you kind of worry about what others think? Why should you care what others are doing? Just kind of stay in your lane, do your own thing.
Yeah, do you tend to still think that way, or has since kind of figuring out that this person's doing this or doing that, or maybe experiencing some hardship, have you kind of been more empathetic to complete strangers or people that you just met, and kind of grown to be more accepting of others? Or what would you think about that?
Yeah, I would say so. Like you said, you never know with people. So I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt because I don't know what they're coming from. I don't know their hardships, like you said with your dad. I never would have known. Not that I would have treated you any different, but I just try to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think the significance of the term Sonder has for people specifically in their 20s, to kind of make it a relatable topic to the target audience for people in their 20s?
That's a good question. I think of just not comparing yourself to people. People our age, especially now with social media, it's so easy to look at somebody and be like, they're perfect. They have this, they drive this, they're in school for this and this. Whole time their world is crumbling down. They're looking at other people thinking the same thing. They have this, and then that person's looking at someone. And so I think it's just a good reminder to stay in your lane. Like I said before, stay in your lane. Stop comparing yourself to others. They're all doing their own thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would also say, while you are in your 20s, a large part of your personality shifts because you're maybe not living at home, or you're becoming an adult and you're starting to make your own decisions and this and that. And so from that, there's obviously different personality traits and things that can be associated with you. But you're in your 20s and you think that you have life figured out, to be naive and think that
Mm-hmm.
you got everything under control and your life is perfect. You're very quick to judge strangers or judge people you just met, or even people that are close to you. And I was a victim of this, not now, but in years past, where I was quick to judge other people just because someone wasn't like me in a certain
Yeah.
aspect or a certain personality trait. I was very quick to assume that maybe they weren't as good at handling stress or as good of, I don't know, I can't think of an example. But Sonder can really kind of put a break and pause on all that and kind of make you think, who am I to judge others? And who am I to think that this person has it so easy? They only do school and nothing else, and they don't have to worry about any finances, and they're stressing out and having anxiety attacks and this and that. Like, whoa, wait a minute. You don't know what that person's going through behind closed doors. So it's a weird switch because, yes, stay in your lane to focus on yourself and realize that you're not the only one going through stuff and this and that. But on the flip side, my eyes have opened up to spread more positivity to people I just met or people that I'm already close to or previously close to, and help them if I can, help in any situation, because that's ultimately what it's all about. We're all here going through life together, and it's very easy to stay in your lane and only focus on you. But then on the flip side, if you're able to help others, it does no harm by doing so. Well, besides that, can Sonder change your perspective on how you view others, and how so? I know we kind of already answered that, but I want to see if you have anything else to add to that question.
Like I said, just give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Try and be empathetic, both of them.
Absolutely. Well, tell me your best story that made you think of the term Sonder, or maybe since you knew what the term was, what is your best Sonder situation?
Okay. Oh, this is a good one. This one's more kind of just crazy. And this was before I knew the term. So we were in Vegas, Las Vegas. It's 3 a.m. or whatever. We're playing blackjack, kind of just doing whatever. We strike a conversation with the dealer. Somehow it gets brought up that we're from the same state. He's like, "Oh, you're from Ohio? Yeah, cool. What part?" He says Cincinnati. I'm like, "Oh, we're from Cincinnati." We start talking a little bit more, and then start asking on high schools. We went to the same high school. He was older than us, but we went to the same high school. Like, "Oh, no way. Did you grow up around there?" He's like, "Yeah, I grew up on X Street." The street happened to be 3 or 4 streets down my road. So the dude that was dealing us at 3 a.m. in Las Vegas happened to grow up like a mile down. We had no idea, never met, never seen each other, and we just happened to be at the same place, same time.
Wow.
Doing his own thing, going our own thing.
That's wild.
It was really crazy.
That is crazy, bro. Here's one of mine. I have so many, obviously. That's why I'm moving around so much. I'm able to make connections with a lot of people just because it's such a significant term for me. This is probably one of my favorite. I was working at Kroger as a cashier, and it was around Thanksgiving time. Okay. And this gentleman came up here and he was checking out and he had a ham. I don't remember what was wrong with it or whatever. I think it didn't have a price tag. So my manager took it back down to the meat department and was trying to get a price for it. So that way I could check him out. And so we're talking there. We're waiting for my manager and we just start chatting it up. And he's like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I say, "Oh, I've been all over the place, yada, yada." He said, "Oh, cool. I'm from South Florida." I'm like, "All right, bet. I used to live in South Florida. Where did you live?" He said, "Oh, like West Palm Beach area, Fort Lauderdale." I said, "Oh, interesting. I live around there as well. What part?" And so we keep talking. Long story short, he lived in the same town as me, at the same time as me. He lived the neighborhood next to mine, but we were separated by a golf course that the two neighborhoods shared. So technically the same neighborhood or whatever. And I was like, "Oh, dude, that's dope. What school did you go to at that time?" And he told me, "Same middle school, Ryan."
And he's your age?
Well, he was a year younger, so it was between my sister and I. But, bro, 7th and 8th grade Tanner probably walking by this kid.
Yep, you guys probably had class together.
We could have had classes together. We could have had the same lunch, and I was in a lunch line behind him or whatever. Mm-hmm. And here we are 10 plus years later in a completely different state and area down in Auburn, and I'm his cashier checking him out.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And he could have gone to any other cashier. He could have.
Any other cashier, any store.
He could have been right, so then you guys can have a conversation.
Yeah. That's right, bro.
That's why I love Sonder, because so many things have to kind of line up for it to have a Sonder moment.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
100%. And it happens more often than you think. It's funny because, like you said, I wouldn't have known that if I didn't talk to that
mm-hmm.
guy. But who knows the other stories where I wasn't able to talk to that person in line ahead of me, or walking around and talk to that stranger at the park. That could have been another connection that I would and will never know because,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. It just blows my mind still to this day. Well, Ryan, next question here. Since we're all living our own lives and having our own struggles, besides being kind to others and understanding everyone has their own obstacles, deep emotions, connections with others, etc., what else has the term Sonder taught you?
Strike more conversations with strangers. You know, like in today's society, it's kind of people don't talk to people as much. Back before social media, people used to actually just go to random, like in public, and just strike conversations with people. And I'm guilty of it. Like I'll just sit on my phone or something if I'm in public, and I sit there, don't have to talk to anybody. But since learning about Sonder, like I kind of do try to engage with strangers more and just see if we have something in common. See if, hey, we happen to be in the same school at this time or whatever, like your story. Um, to help me open up a bit.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, it's very easy to stay in your own bubble
Yeah.
and all of that. At the same time, if especially with people that are around our age, it's such a experience every day. And as we get older, we try to pretend like we have a little bit more of this thing called life down and act like we know what we're doing. But everyone's just kind of just bullshitting their way through it, just like we are. And
Yeah.
and
No one
it
really knows.
yeah, nobody really knows. At least that I know of.
Yeah,
There could be
exactly.
someone who actually does have it figured out. Kudos to them. I think personally, it's very important from an empathetic standpoint and to kind of understand that person. We'll say it, the Kroger cash out line was a little bizarre. You could be that minor character in someone else's life, and it just kind of changes your perspective. There's hundreds or thousands of versions of you that people have in their mind because they just took that interaction or various interactions that they had with you, and each variation is different. So
Mhm.
it's just very crazy to think about that there's all these variations of you, and it's very important that you make that connection with others.
I agree. It's like, have you seen those stories where it's like the people they help like some random stranger like that they didn't have to help, and then the stranger ends up telling like, "Oh, you don't know it, but I was gonna go home and harm myself or kill myself or
Yeah.
something, and you just stopped it." So I think that kind of plays like an important role in it, like interacting with strangers like that and just having empathy for people like that.
Yep. It helps you stay grounded to become aware that the people around you have their own wants and needs
Yeah,
rather than you just focusing solely on yourself.
exactly. I like that, grounded. I like that.
Well, cool, Ryan. Do you have any questions for me at the moment?
Huh. At what point were you like, "This is awesome"? How did you learn about Sonder? And then you wanted to get it tattooed. How did you learn about Sonder? And at what point were you like, "This is awesome. I want to get it tattooed on me"?
I learned about the term Sonder just randomly through social media, just the definition of it. And that was enough for me. I set my phone down and I just had an existential crisis of like, holy shit. Like the walls started coming in towards, I don't know why it was so profound from the start for me. But I think because around so much and I interacted with so many different kinds of people and cultures and this and that, I've just automatically been a little bit more predispositioned to have empathy for others and kind of learn about different people. Everyone has a life story, and you wouldn't know if you didn't ask. So, yeah, that's when I found out about it. And then I wanted to get it tattooed on me because of my own personal hardships and the story that I have. I know that so many other people have their own unique story and their own hardships that got them to be at the point in life that they're at. And
Yeah,
I think it just goes deeper than the surface definition. I think it's more so of don't judge a book by its cover. You don't know what I've been through. I don't know what you've been through. Not to sound too hippie or something, but just to be at more peace with myself, but also to not be so angry towards others or so judgmental towards others. Yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of how my mindset switched once I knew that there was a term to actually describe that feeling. It's hard to put those kind of emotions or that kind of explanation into words. So as soon as I knew what that term was and what it meant and kind of took that and also made my own kind of personal switch or flip on it, then I immediately wanted to get it tattooed on me.
Do you remember how old you were when you found out about it?
I was in ninth grade.
Okay. Freshman year.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in ninth grade and I didn't get the tattoo until my sophomore or junior year of college.
Like I said, I kind of thought about Sonder before knowing what Sonder was. I would pass by somebody in the car. I think that was the first example you gave to me.
Yeah.
And I would be like, oh, I wonder where that person's going. And then they would turn. I would never see him again. Never think about it again. Oh, they're off living their life. Like today, they're doing something that I have no idea. No idea what they're doing.
The one that still messes me up a lot because I live very close to the airport.
Oh, yeah.
And so at work or at home, there's tens of planes that fly over the house every day. And I just think, how many people are coming here for this reason or that reason? You just never know.
Yep, exactly.
Some people are going for business trips. Some people are going for vacation. Some people are going for funerals, or like you just don't know.
You have no idea. And that is crazy to look up in the sky and be like, oh, there's 50 people. I don't know how many people are on a plane. More than 50, but.
Oh my God, here's another one. Okay, here's another Sonder story. I'm on the plane.
Okay.
I'm flying by myself. I think I was going to meet my family in Florida or something like that. And I'm sitting next to this woman that's probably in her mid-20s at that point. We start talking, and I get to know her a little bit. She said that she's an airline mechanic, so she actually works on the airplanes, commercial airlines, and all that. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. And then we kept talking, and she said that she was flying. Actually, no, I'm sorry. This wasn't to Florida. This was to Utah. So I'm flying from Atlanta to Utah. Okay. And she's saying that she lives in Atlanta. She met this guy online who lives in Wyoming. And Ryan, this was their first time meeting each other. And immediately my fucked up mind goes to is like, oh my God, this is their first time that they're meeting. She said, yeah, I haven't told anyone why I'm going here. You're the first person I told. I haven't told my family or anything. I'm like, holy shit. I'm the first person, first living soul she's told.
She entrusted you with that.
And on top of that, time that they meet, bro, that could turn into a serious relationship. That could turn into...
What if they hate each other?
They could. But my mind goes to, oh my God, they're going to be married and they're going to live to be 90 years old.
They're going to bring more souls into the world. They're going to make children. No way.
I don't know. I just think it was cool. I was part of the experience of them meeting for the first time. And that really could lead. She said they were talking for months prior and all this.
And you know what's crazy?
What?
You're probably in her story. She's probably like, and so I told some random dude on the plane.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's true. Like when she tells a story of like, how did you and Dad first meet? And then she tells a story of like, I flew from, isn't that crazy?
Like, I told some random dude on the plane sitting next to me. That's crazy.
I like those kind of situations where you don't know how your interaction can lead to something, like you said, years or decades down the line where that person that you helped out, like you said, they could be your surgeon who's about to do emergency surgery. You just never know, bro. Every interaction, personally, I think every interaction has a purpose, and there's a reason why people enter and exit your life, you know?
I do. I agree.
Do you agree with that?
I would say every interaction is valuable. You can take something away from every interaction you have, whether it's a stranger, person you know. Not every interaction, but
Ryan, you can't say absolutes on a podcast.
I know, my bad. Have you ever tried to explain Sonder to someone and it just completely goes over their head?
Either that or it doesn't resonate with them as much as it does with me, which is like, imagine the thing that means the most to you, and then you try to explain that to someone or tell someone how much it means to you, and then they just absolutely just shit on it.
Yes, that's the worst. You're so excited about it.
So excited and passionate about it. And they're like, yeah, that's cool. Anyways. Yeah, that's always tough. But I mean, just like anything else, it's not for everyone. But personally, I just feel like to kind of tie it together with the episode, the topic of Sonder is an eye-opening experience for people who do get it, can really help change your perspective on the way you treat others, interact with others, but also the way you treat your own life. And in a weird way, it's kind of helped me realize that, do I want to be this bad character in this person's perspective of me? Like I said, there's hundreds of variations of Tanner walking around because everyone took bits and pieces from what they knew about me or what they experienced with me and made that own conscious definition of me. But that's not 100% who I am, the only version of myself.
Exactly. You only know this or that.
Right. So that kind of side of Sonder kind of made me make my interactions with people, it's always treat people with kindness, because it just resonates with me more to know that 99% of the interactions I have with these strangers or people in general, I know at the end of the day are positive. And just by simply treating people right, it goes a long way. That good karma will always come back to you.
It does add up, for sure. And like you said, we are in people's stories that they tell on a day-to-day basis. So you ideally want to be like a good story that they're telling. Not like, oh, this asshole at the gym or this asshole at the grocery store.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it boils down to. Well, Ryan, if you don't have anything else, my man, we can just cut it here. Thanks for coming on this episode and talking about Sonder with me. It means a lot to me, and I know, especially since I shared it with you, it has an impact on you as well.
It does. And sometimes I forget about Sonder. Like, I do just kind of go days where I'm like, don't even think about other people, like, living.
Well, it's natural. It's natural for us to be like that. That's how we're wired, dude.
Yeah.
That's how we're wired. Well, a little bit different of a structure than the other episodes of Let's Talk 20s. This episode is not necessarily a core principle or core issue to discuss to the general public that are in their 20s, but more so of something that is dear to me and something that maybe a few people will kind of relate to, or if not, kind of be exposed to. So still fun.
I think it's a great term.
It's a great term.
I appreciate you having me.
For sure.
We can always talk about Sonder.
Absolutely, man. I'll get you on a future episode to talk about something else. But for now, we'll sign it off here. Ryan, thank you for being on. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of Let's Talk 20s. We'll talk soon. Till next time. Peace.